Information shared on the following program is for general information purposes only. It does not constitute legal, tax, investment, or other advice, nor is it intended to recommend any particular investments, products, or financial instruments. Always seek advice from your financial advisor, attorney, or accountant with regard to investment, legal, or tax questions.
How much you weigh, Slim? And you weighed 168 pounds. You were beautiful. You could have been another Billy Kahn. That skunk we got you for the manager, he brought you along too fast.
It wasn't him, Charlie. It was you. You remember that night in the garden? You came down my dressing room and said, "Kid, this ain't your night. We're going for the price on Wilson." You remember that? This ain't your night. My night, I could have taken Wilson apart. So what happens? He gets the title shot outdoors in a ballpark, and what do I get? A one-way ticket to Palookaville. You was my brother, Charlie. You should have looked out for me a little bit. You should have taken care of me just a little bit so I wouldn't have to take them dives for the short-end money.
Well, I had some bets down for you. You saw some money.
You don't understand. I could have had class. I could have been a contender. I could have been somebody.
Woulda, shoulda, coulda, Part 2.
Welcome to the only show in the country dedicated to helping savers worry less about money, the Worry-Free Retirement, with your host, Tony Walker.
If you got it, you don't need it. If you need it, you don't got it. You don't get it, shame on you. Funny, funny, funny what money can do. Them that have it, get more of it. The less they need it, the more they love it. And it sticks to them like glue. Funny, funny, funny what money can do.
Well, if you're just now joining us, this is the Worry-Free Retirement, and we're on Part 2 of the 7 costliest mistakes people make with their money. And we're trying to define that woulda, shoulda, coulda moment in your life when you look back and you go, darn it, if only this. Or you're like Marlon Brando in that last clip, you know, I could have been somebody. But as you analyze that scene with Marlon Brando and Rod Steiger, and basically Marlon Brando's career's washed up, he's basically looking over the past with a lot of regrets, is what he's saying. And he really is saying, why didn't I do this? Or why didn't X happen? And many of you, we're talking about finances now, many of you are out there fighting and grappling into the financial ring, and you're retired or you're nearing retirement. And that's kind of like that Marlon Brando moment. A lot of you will come into me. I mean, I literally see hundreds of people throughout the month, thousands of people I've seen over the years. And many people come to me and they go, Tony, because they know I've seen a lot of people, I've seen a lot of stuff. They're basically saying, how have I done compared to everybody else? Because they know, and I know, I've had my own flops, people. I mean, you're not going to live a perfect life here. But they know they've made some financial mistakes, and now they just want me to kind of assure them that, hey, everything's fine, don't worry, forget the woulda, shoulda, couldas. Now, the problem with all this is, again, you're out there fighting it alone, or maybe even your financial advisor or financial manager, we're using the analogy of a boxing manager, is supposed to be in your corner looking out for your best interest. You see, if we go back to that scene with Rod Steiger, I think was with America's Favorite Financial Sidekick. Was that his brother in the movie? I think it was, yeah. So his brother kind of even sold him out. And Brando's going, why didn't you take care of me? Why didn't you look out for me? And see, many of you are feeling that way. You're thinking, wait a minute, I just turned over my money to somebody. Here we are recording this show on October 30th, 2018. The market is all over the place. The roller coaster is in fast motion, folks. It's going up and down. And if you hearken back to 2008, what you're probably saying there is even, why did I have so much money in the stock market? So it's not too late to make changes. Don't fall for the fact that the market has dropped a little bit, and now you're saying, oh gosh, now I can't move any money out. It's dropped. See, I had this happen last night. This happened in 2008. The market dropped a little bit. It was very volatile. I would go to people and say, hey, do you think we ought to move some of this money to safer territory? the majority of the people would say, no, I want to wait for it to get back up before I move it. A month would go by, it dropped again. I'd call them again. Do you want to move it? Oh, no, I want to wait for it to get back. And then, 2 or 3 years later, the market's still down. They've had all this opportunity cost. They've had all this worry. Now, again, I have no idea what the stock market's going to do. This thing could rebound and grow 10% over the next 2 months. That's not the point. The point is this show is dedicated to helping savers who are either retired, I call that the second half of life, or nearing retirement. They're at halftime. And folks, if you're at that age, if you're like Marlon Brando sitting there thinking about life and realizing you can't go back into the boxing ring, whether it's age or also in that scene, he talks about how he used to be 168 pounds. In other words, he ain't 168 pounds. And neither are you. You're not 30 years of age anymore. You can't continue to take all this risk, or you can't go back and get a medical degree and go out and make six figures. I mean, you are where you are. You have to accept that. So what we're here to do on today's show is a continuation of last week's show. We're here to talk about things you can do to avoid mistakes in the future. Again, we can't do anything about the past, but we sure don't want to repeat the past. We will have, Aaron, will we have that radio show on the website from last week? Well, let's make sure that's up there. So, yeah, if you're just catching the show and you say, hey, I want to hear about those first three mistakes you talked about, Tony, those were covered in detail on last week's show. So you can go to TonyWalkerFinancial.com, go to the media tab there, and look up last week's radio show. I'd encourage you to watch that. Incidentally, I forgot to mention this. I'm really, really pleased to announce we've got a TV show. We've done over 200 episodes of the Worry Free Retirement TV show. But last week's radio show was our 100th episode. 100 episodes. That's pretty cool. So really proud of that, and I hope the radio show is of help to you. Again, if you want to check out also the TV show, it's on in major networks in Louisville and Bowling Green, Kentucky. For TV listings, just go to TonyWalkerFinancial.com and you can find those as well. All right, let's get to mistake number 4. Mistake number 4. And again, if you want to catch the first 3 mistakes, go back and listen to the last show, and we'll try to cover now through this show mistakes 4, 5, 6, and 7. Now, all of these, by the way, are taken from the book that I wrote in 2010, Don't Follow the Herd. Great book. You can check it out on Amazon or Barnes & Noble. Excellent book. So I'm just literally thumbing through the pages and reading from this. But mistake number 4 is stockpiling hay for everyone else but you. You know, you think about this. You are working hard for your money. I work hard for my money. All of our staff works very hard for our money. The problem is there's a lot of people out there after this money. And there really are 4 financial institutions that we have to be aware of. Again, they're all hopefully operating ethically and everything else, but the fact is they need our money to operate. So we've got the government, and they collect our money in the form of taxes. You don't believe me? Grab your paycheck stub. In fact, the government indirectly collects taxes for Social Security. That's called your FICA tax. So the government's out there. If we get out into the financial ring, we got to be aware they're an opponent out there after our money. The second institution that we got to grapple with is Wall Street. Wall Street makes their money on fees and commissions. The problem is usually Wall Street provides no guarantees of the return of your money. So that's a problem, because if you're a saver out there and you don't really understand investing, which is what Wall Street's all about, talking about fighting an opponent, an uphill battle, that's a toughie. The next opponent out there we have to grapple with in the financial ring are insurance companies. Now, I love insurance companies. You know, I wouldn't drive around in my car or walk in my home without having an insurance company protect me. I have life insurance. I have health insurance. I have a lot of different types of insurances. I have annuities. I got a ton of annuities. Annuities are issued by insurance companies. The problem is insurance companies are no different than anybody else. They have to have our money. They invest it. They make what's called a spread on that money, and they give us something in return. They are not going to do any tax planning for us. They're not overly concerned with fees. They're not really worried about whether you always need the insurance. It was funny, when I was being trained back in the 80s to sell life insurance, I was meeting with a gentleman, and he said, I tell you a good one-liner, Tony, you can share with people. And I said, what's that? And he said, well, if you're meeting with people and they start talking about insurance, you ask them if they can afford the insurance they've got. This is funny. True story. And I said, oh, why would I ask them that? And he said, well, always tell them if you can afford the insurance you've got, you probably don't have enough. I mean, a true story anyway, kind of a weird way of looking at things, but that's kind of how things are looked at from the financial world. And then finally, the fourth financial institution we got to do battle with sometimes are banks. And can we say enough about banks? I mean, I love banks too. I got a lot of money in the bank, but bless their hearts, they ain't paying much interest, folks. They're not falling all over themselves to reward us for putting our money with them. So in many cases, we have to look outside the bank for larger rates of return. So that's the fourth common mistake. When I come back, we're going to dive into the other three common mistakes that savers are making with their money. So if you're feeling like that woulda, shoulda, coulda, if you're tired of riding the roller coaster ride of the stock market, if you're tired of 1% to 2% at the bank, you're going to want to stay tuned. This is stuff you can put in place today to get onto a road to a worry-free retirement. I'll be right back. Tired of getting up every day and heading off to work with no end in sight? I'm retirement specialist Tony Walker, and I've helped lots of people retire much sooner than they ever thought possible, and maybe I can help you do the same.
If you're over the age of 50 and have at least $250,000 to invest, schedule your free meeting with Tony to see if you can retire sooner than you think. Simply log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com.
You don't understand. I could have had class. I could have been a contender. I could have been somebody.
Welcome back to the Worry-Free Retirement. And as we flesh out this show and the 7 common mistakes, really they're costly, quite frankly, that savers are making with their money and how to avoid them. This is taken from my book, Don't Follow the Herd. In the break, myself and Aaron and then his favorite sidekick, Matt, we were talking and we thought, golly, Tony, you're really rushing through these mistakes. It's actually been a while, quite frankly, since I've gone back and drug out the book and really started studying these mistakes. There's a lot of meat within here. So quite frankly, I'm going to do the best I can to cover them, but we may not get through these 7 mistakes on this show. I just think this is too important. You know, here's the problem. You're being guided by somebody out there. More than likely, if you're a saver, you do 2 things. You either don't listen to anybody and then maybe just keep your money in the 401k and hope it does well, or you've got your money in the bank and hope interest rates come up. That's not really a game plan. Or you're blindly trusting someone that potentially may not have your best interest at heart. So as we go through these mistakes, these are things you can put in place, and these are things that will give you a fighting chance with your money and, of course, your retirement. So let's go to mistake number 5. And I think this is, this really more is philosophical. Let me just ask you a question. So we've talked about hard work, working hard, you're paying everybody else. We talked in the last segment about the 4 financial institutions, and we always like to say their job is like Dracula. Dracula woke up every day, or woke up at night, I guess, and needed blood. Without it, he would die. Well, financial institutions, including yours truly, folks, when I get up in the morning, when my feet hit the floor, I kind of almost pretend I'm unemployed. I work for myself. I have to get out and see people. And if we don't handle, here's the truth, if we don't handle other people's money, we don't stay in business. That's the financial world. The question is, you're going to turn your money over to somebody. Who are you going to trust with that money? And who can you verify? You can verify this stuff, folks. Who is really going to work in your best interest? So when we think about money, you're working hard. You got to deal with all these financial institutions and advisors out there. But then you have to really ask yourself, wait a minute, why am I working this hard? Here's the question here, when do I get to enjoy this money? When do I get to use this money? Everybody else is using it. And I'm going to pick on the 401k plan just because it's so easy to pick on, but let's take the 401k plan. Again, a great savings plan. We're not saying you shouldn't do it, but just think what's going on here. Let's say you're age 30, all right? And let's say over the course of your lifetime, you put $400,000 in there or whatever it is. And it's grown to $800,000 or $1 million. All that's great, but between the time you put it in at age 30 And the time you take it out, which most people don't even take it out until they start reaching 70 and a half, which is kind of funny when you think about it. Some government-imposed rule that means nothing other than that's when you got to pay taxes. And so what happens is in kind of your mind, because you're so afraid to spend it, for the next 40 years, in this example, from 30 to 70, you let everybody else use and enjoy your money. And you say, no, that's not true, Tony. I see my 401k statement. I see all that money there. It gives me peace of mind to know I've got it. But I say, yeah, but let's say you're 63 years of age, like a person I just met the other day, whose husband had never even touched a penny of that, and he gets cancer and dies 4 weeks later. My question is, who got to use that money, you or them? Now, they've been charging fees on it. You say, oh, well, yeah, I guess I forgot about the fees. They've been making money in other ways. A lot of those fees are never disclosed. So all the deals that are done with the mutual funds and all that it's on the back end. Somebody's using that money, right? Even if you're buying stock in the company, the company's got that money to do things, research and development. And then the government's waiting just to get their hands on it when you die, not if you die. So even in that 63-year-old's case, I'm sitting here meeting with this poor old widow, and she thinks she can just take that 401k and start using it. And I got to remind her that she's got a tax tumor. So in a perfect world, yeah, that's fine. You know, you sock your money away in the 401k and it grows to all this money. But in the real world, here's the point. Not only are you not using it, enjoying it, but the way it's hogtied and the way you've been indoctrinated into leaving it there for the future, and we hadn't even talked about inflation, but the question is, when are you going to use this money? So we're different. Where Tony Walker Financial is different. When I sit down with somebody, I bring to the table a lot of things. I bring to the table 34 years of experience. I bring to the table working with thousands of people. I bring to the table that we only work with savers. We're not working with investors and speculators and throwing all our money blindly with Wall Street and hoping things work out. We're dealing with the realistic fact that one day you're going to die. And I'm assuming the reason you're working so hard is you're trying to strike a balance between saving your money, which we got to do, but also using your money, which I think we got to do. So mistake number 5 is not having a game plan to understand when and how to use your money. Now, how do we do this? How do we in the Worry-Free Retirement, our process, do this? Well, I couldn't find this anywhere. I could not find software created by the financial world that could help me illustrate to savers, again, savers love to keep things simple, how we are going to go about using and enjoying and protecting this money. So what did I do? I paid a lot of money, quite frankly, but I paid a lot of money to have someone design software that's specific to our practice. Nobody can use this. This is worry-free retirement software. And what happens, that software takes all of your assets, all of your future income, and puts it into this software, and then in picture form, savers love pictures, in picture form describes and shares with you how and when we're going to drag the money out and send it to you. If you can retire sooner than you think. See, this software allows us to do this. We've been on a huge campaign about this, by the way. If you are tired of working and you're sitting there saying, man, I've been at the job 30, 35, 40 years. I don't know how much longer I can do this, but I'm afraid, according to the financial world, I'll never be able to retire. Maybe you've been listening to those goofy notions that you've got to have 85% of your pre-tax retirement income to retire. I don't know where people come up with this stuff. Or they scare you to death about inflation. I saw a chart the other day. Somebody had a financial advisor run, and it showed at age 65 they needed $80,000 or whatever their arbitrary number was. The advisor had put an inflation factor on there and assumed by the time they were 80 they would need $200,000 to live on. And I'm thinking, I've got a lot of 80-year-old clients. Not many of them are spending $30,000, much less $200,000. Again, folks, I don't know where people come up with this. The reason they come up with these notions, I think, in my humble opinion, is they want to scare you so you'll leave your money with them so you can try to grow it for all these future needs that you probably will not have. So with Tony Walker Financial, let me make this offer to you. We can run you a free income analysis, absolutely free. You can be at any age. We'd be happy to do this, but primarily we're looking for people who are already retired or nearing retirement. So maybe if that's you and you say, yeah, I don't have a game plan, Tony. I want to use and enjoy and protect this money, and I don't want to run out of it. Can you do that? I would say absolutely. I can sure try. And it's not going to hurt anything because it's absolutely free to go through this analysis. Take advantage of it. Log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Click on that Let's Get Started button or give us a call at 877-499-9255. Well, I'm watching the time here, and we are starting to run out of time. Here's what I'm going to do. We're going to take a quick break. Looks like I'll have time to cover mistake number 6. So if you're sitting there trying to take more control over your money, you're tired of fighting in the ring by yourself, you're looking for a financial manager that can really put some teeth into this, when we come back, I'm going to talk about the 6th most costly mistake savers make with their money and how you can avoid making this same mistake. I'll be right back.
Are you retired or retiring soon? Do you have a 401k, IRA, thrift savings account, 403b, or lump sum pension that you'd like to move to safer territory? Did you know that all the money you see on your 401k statement isn't really yours? Depending on your overall taxable income, the government has essentially a lien on your 401k that can tax as much as 40% of your money when you go to take it out. Tony Walker calls this the 401k tax tumor. For over 33 years, retirement specialist Tony Walker has helped thousands of savers worry less about money by creating game plans to deal with your tax tumor. Get control of your retirement by controlling the taxes owed on it. Schedule a free meeting to see if you can reduce your tax tumor and provide a guaranteed income you can never outlive. To get started, simply log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. That's TonyWalkerFinancial.com.
Are you retired or retiring soon? Can you afford for your money to take a hit with the stock market being so volatile these days? Nobody can time the market, but having a retirement game plan with Tony Walker Financial gives you peace of mind and sleep insurance. Learn how to prevent losses in your retirement accounts and plan your retirement around an income you can never outlive. Log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com today to schedule a personal meeting with Tony to secure your hard-earned money. That's TonyWalkerFinancial.com.
You don't understand. I could have had class. I could have been a contender. I could have been somebody.
Welcome back to the Worry-Free Retirement, and never in all my years of 34 years in the financial trenches did I think this little scene with Marlon Brando and Rod Steiger on the waterfront, I didn't think I'd ever get this much play out of it. This has been hilarious to use this cut. But our theme is woulda, shoulda, coulda, and how, as Marlon Brando is saying there, I could have been somebody. In other words, as a prize fighter, he's over the hill. He can't go back into the ring. And that's not the case with you and I. Even if you're retired or nearing retirement, you think you can jump out of the financial ring, and you can't. See, this isn't prize fighting, folks. This is the real world. And even though you're retired, here I met with an 82-year-old gentleman and his daughter yesterday, and we were talking about this. He said, Tony, I thought when I got this age and had all this money, I would quit worrying about money. And I said, sir, and what have you discovered? And he said, oh, it's just a different set of worries. So it's not like people think they retire, even if you've got several $1 million. The worries continue. They're just different types of worries. It reminds me of the great theologian Charles Spurgeon. He once quoted as saying, money's a funny thing. He said, those who have none worry without it. Those who have it worry with it. And that really is true. So we have to stay in the ring. The opponents are still there. We still have the government who is wanting to tax our money. We still have Wall Street who wants to continue to suck fees and commissions off. We still have the insurance companies who want our premiums and desperately need those, and they're not going to share with us any ways to reduce those premiums. And then we have banks who are willing to charge us a lot of interest and sometimes pay us very little back in return. Those are the real financial culprits out there that we've got to continue to grapple with. And what we're saying is sometimes it's not a matter of taking more risk, putting more money in the stock market and riding that roller coaster out while you're 65 or 70 years of age. Sometimes it's backing up And rather than having a woulda, coulda, shoulda moment and saying, wait a minute, what can I do to avoid any future mistakes? If I'm going to have to stay in this ring and fight it out, I don't want to do it the way I used to, because that was a difficult situation and created worry, and I can't go back into the other ring. I got this new ring I'm dealing with. It's called retirement. What am I supposed to do? So if you're just now joining us, we've been covering out of my book, Don't Follow the Herd, the 7 costly mistakes savers are making with their money, and that might be you, and how to avoid it. And yes, we ran out of time, so we've got time for one more mistake. Now I'm going to tee it up. Next week, I'll be covering mistake number 7. Actually, it's the biggest mistake. It was eye-opening for me after 9/11, and that's going to be the best medicine you can get for your retirement next week, so you don't want to miss next week's show. Incidentally, if you're just now joining us, what I've told Aaron, the producer of the show, to do is leave up last week's show and leave up this week's show. That way you can listen to both of them, and we'll try to keep those up in their entirety so you can follow through and listen to these mistakes again. So mistake number 6, again, I'm in the book, Don't Follow the Herd. I've got a picture of this on page 119. It's a little graphic, actually. It's got a bull in one stall and a cow in the other, and it says, mistake number 6, leaving your cow in the wrong stall. And the cow that just walked in with the bull has this funny look on her face. But anyway, it's a toughie. And here's what I would say. You have 2 choices in life. As you are putting money into a stall, a financial stall, you can either pay people now or pay them later. Remember the old Fram oil filter? We covered that on the show recently. You can either pay the government now or pay them later. And many of you come to me and you say, Tony, I don't really understand the difference between tax deferred and tax free. Now, you can't have it both ways. If you're going to defer taxes, for instance, that would be like your 401k or 457 plan or IRA. That means you're going to put off the pain. You're not going to pay any current taxes. 100% of the money is growing tax deferred. It's not tax free, folks. It's tax deferred. And then one day in that stall, when you open that barn door to go in that stall, the government's going to step in front of you and they're going to want their fair share. And depending on the tax laws in the future, who knows what they're going to take. And that money is due them. You can't even pass on money without the government getting it on first. So even at your death, they're going to want that money first before your heirs get it. So that's one of the stalls. The other stall is you make a decision now and you say, you know what, Tony, I think I'll just pay the taxes now. I want to get in a different stall. And by paying the taxes now, from a planning standpoint anyway, I mean, I'm a retirement planner. This is what I look at. I'm trying to look to the future and help you plan your future. The tax-free stall, even though you got to pay the taxes now, I feel is a much better stall to be in, because from a planning standpoint, we know that every dollar, when we let that cow out of the stall one day, is completely free to roam around, completely free from taxes. And from a planning standpoint, I like that freedom for my clients to know what it is we're going to be able to put in our pocket. So maybe you're sitting there right now and you go, Tony, these mistakes are great. I've enjoyed listening to them. In fact, I'm going to get a copy of your book, Don't Follow the Herd. But if you're like a lot of people that I meet, you finally have realized I don't have anybody in my corner that truly seems to have my best interest at heart. I am a fiduciary. I've been in this business 34 years. We are A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. And best of all, to meet with me in person or to talk with me by phone, there is absolutely no cost or obligation. I would love to do that, love the opportunity to meet you, and it's really easy. All you got to do is log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com, TonyWalkerFinancial.com, and when you get there, you're going to click on that little icon that says, Let's Get Started. The information is confidentially sent to our office. We will then follow up with you to set up a convenient time, either by phone or in person at either our Bowling Green or Louisville, Kentucky office, and you'll meet with me and we'll do an assessment. The assessment will be provided at the second appointment. I'll lay out all my findings to you in writing, and best of all, you can take that and think about it. There's no pressure. We can move at your pace. I'm happy to do that. So again, take advantage of that at TonyWalkerFinancial.com or give us a call at 877-499-9255. Well, I hope you've enjoyed today's program. I look forward to next week and sharing the 7th biggest mistake, and it's one we can definitely help you avoid. But you got to stay tuned to listen next week. Between now and then, you remember, if all else fails, you be worry-free.
You don't got it, you don't get it, shame on you. Funny, funny, funny what money can do. Them that have it get more of it. The less they need it, the more they love it. and it sticks to them like glue. Funny, funny, funny what money can do.